I know it's early, D. I had
was
to rush
up till
there.
3 in the morning
Bro,
talking about it too.
bro, listen. Dana White and Turkey, man, they cooked me with the time, but it was a great night of boxing.
Yeah.
We witnessed something historical.
Yeah.
The first three Division 4 belt male undisputed champion. The other three Division undisputed champions, Bob Fitzsimmons and Henry Armstrong. What's your thoughts? Terence Crawford, masterclass performance.
Well, you said it, masterclass performance for sure. You already know I've been speaking on your channel about the fact that I didn't think that Terence Crawford's size was going to be that much of a disadvantage because you never know what these guys really walk around at, right? So I gave it 50-50 initially due to the fact that not only is Terence Crawford maybe walks around similar or a similar weight to Canelo, but also he has a wrestling background, so I didn't think the strength advantage would be there, right? So much so, right? But once I started seeing like some of the things that was going on in camp, like when I saw Boots go to Canelo's camp, I felt like Canelo wouldn't be as surprised, regardless of how the sparring went. Even if Boots, dominated the spar, it doesn't matter. He would be more prepared for what he would have to deal with Crawford after sparring Boots, in my opinion. That's what I thought. So if it was a 50-50 fight before that, I said, all right, I give, I guess, the strategy edge to Canelo, right? Because he'll know what he needs to bring to be able to face a guy like Crawford. Crawford, to me, and people won't think that I'm right when I say this because it sounds wrong, right? Crawford fought the wrong fight and won, in my opinion. And the reason I say wrong fight is, obviously he looked like he dominated the majority of the fight. But if you told me that your strategy as a smaller man, a quote-unquote smaller man, is to, box in the early rounds and then stand right in front of the guy and exchange and win those exchanges, if he told me that that's what he was planning on doing, and I would say, you're going to stand right in front of Canelo and exchange with him and think you're going to win those exchanges, I would say don't do that. Obviously, for obvious reasons. When you knock out a guy like Kovalev, you knock out guys like James Kirkland, you knocked out guys like, you know what I mean? Like, you just keep going with Canelo's knockouts. Billy Joe Saunders, he broke his face. So when you look at Canelo's size, I would recommend that you don't stand in front of a guy that seems to be the bigger, stronger puncher if you're trying to win. I thought Crawford would have to fight on his back foot most of the fight and box. And I think in the first 4 or 5 rounds, I think that's what Crawford was trying to do. You can see Canelo doing the right things, which is throwing body shots early. He was throwing a left hook to the body that you could tell was bothering Crawford in the first round, second round, so on. He hit him with a straight right hand in the 5th round at the end of the round that I think rocked him, because when you see a fighter, that doesn't want to take a step after getting hit, it might be because they think they're a little wobbly. They don't want you to see that. They don't want the opponent to catch that. And at the end of the round, when he caught Crawford nodded his head, and he stood for probably like 5 seconds, which looked like 20 seconds because he didn't want to walk back to his corner right away because he wanted to make sure his legs were there. So I thought that he clipped him right there. And I think I'm right because historically when you see Crawford hurt at all or hit, a dragon comes out. He gets aggressive, right? The 6th round, right after that round, he came off firing off, and he had to get his respect because he was looking at it like, all right, Canelo's starting to walk me down. This boxing isn't working as well. And if he would have kept going that route, I think it would have been going the way Canelo would have expected it to go. I don't think he expected Crawford to be able to elevate like that. And he jumped on him in the 6th round. I think he stung him. And for me, as I said, to win that fight, not asking for a catch weight, not asking for any considerations
no rehydration clause,
no clauses whatsoever. I tip my hat to him for that. I didn't even know that. I thought there would be some, but I tip my hat to him for that because that was honorable. Like, he fought like Ryu from Street Fighter type. He just looking for an honorable, a worthy opponent, and he went out there and proved that he can elevate his game, and he can basically, like Highlander, all of the lack of resume that he has, right? Because people say, okay, he hasn't fought this guy, hasn't fought that guy. Everybody that Canelo has fought, you know what I mean, he gets credit for it now. So you can't say, hey, he hasn't fought this guy or that guy, because he fought the guy who fought everybody. And he whooped his ass and made him look worse than I've ever seen anybody make him look. And you can argue the Floyd fight if you want, but I think Floyd fought a fight as a smaller man where he was making Canelo miss, and he made Canelo look bad because of his defense. He did not dominate Canelo. Crawford dominated Canelo.
I disagree with that.
I don't.
The
Let's
reason,
argue it.
No, the reason why I disagree with it is it looked the Floyd joint looked terrible, right? There was a point in time when I think Canelo threw like 4 or 5 piece combination. Floyd made him miss every one of them. Right. And then when Canelo missed, Floyd made him pay with it was like a simple flush shot, and it looked so bad.
It did look very bad. I won't lie about that. But like I said, he made him look bad with his defense, though. At any time in that fight, did you think Canelo was in trouble versus Floyd Mayweather?
No.
Did you think he was in trouble last night at any time in the fight? Be honest.
Trouble,
meaning he looked like this ain't he's hurting you. And if he keeps going this way,
I don't think that he was in trouble until like round 11, round 12.
Was he in trouble though?
Yeah. Honestly, I think that Terence Crawford might have let Canelo off the hook because I want to be safe. But there was a point in the 11th and 12th round where he stood, and I think he fired off like a 6-7 piece combination.
Right.
And then Canelo kind of like stood there and was frustrated, and I felt like Crawford just he walked off like the old head that like in the 70s movie that pimp smacks you and then walk off all cool.
Smooth.
I felt like he walked off cool on him instead of jumping on his ass.
Yeah. Exactly that. You only pause this for the dogs. I tell them.
No.
I tell them be quiet or whatever. But let me tell them to be quiet though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Bear, shut up.
All right, my bad. But yeah. So for me, I get you on the Floyd performance. I thought that was second best performance against Canelo ever. But the best period to me is what Crawford just did, because he's also the smaller man, and to go in there, I didn't give Bivol as much credit because Bivol, I thought Canelo lost to Bivol because Bivol was bigger, you know what I mean, and could move. But the fact that Crawford went in there and did what he did to him, walked him down in the second half of the fight, and then in the championship rounds, upped it even more. He upped it in the middle rounds, and from 6 to 9, he upped it. And you thought that this is where Crawford is, right? This is his highest level because he went like Super Saiyan on him, right? But then in the 9th through the 12th, he went even further with it. So for me, Canelo fought the fight that you would want him to fight. If you told me, say, hey, he's going to stand right in front of you, you're going to land body shots, and you're going to be able to stand right in front of the guy in the championship rounds, that is the best case scenario that you can ask for if you're Canelo, because you don't got the footwork to like cut you off or anything like that. So he got the fight that he wanted from Crawford. And Crawford fought his fight, which he shouldn't have, and still won.
Let me tell you how I knew he was going to step to him. When everybody kept asking me about my prediction, I said I want to wait and see the weigh-in, right? I thought that he would have been better suited coming in 161, 163, 164, being elusive, still being twitchy, still being explosive. When he came in at 167.5, I said, oh, shit, he's going to step to him, right? And then here's the little things that, being around boxing now, being actually in the gyms. I saw the gloves. The gloves were Everlast MX. That's a puncher's glove. Looking at the gloves, that shit was horsehair. If you trying to be defensive and elusive, you gonna win some. Yeah, you gonna win some winnings, right? You gonna wear a big puffy glove to where you can catch shit. Yeah, but you only wear horsehair when you want to hurt shit.
Yeah.
And that's what lead me to believe, like, okay, he gonna step to him, right?
Yeah.
And is he gonna step to him early or is he gonna step to him late? That's the question. But he's gonna step to him.
That was all up to Canelo. If Canelo would have let Crawford kind of cruise like he was in the first 3 rounds where he could just box, because Crawford never lost his legs. Even with the body shots, he still was able to move pretty well. If Canelo would have allowed him to just box, I think Crawford would have boxed him and just chilled a little bit, maybe put his foot on the gas in the end. But the moment Canelo landed a punch that mattered, Crawford, like you said, elevated his game. So for me, like I said, that to me placed Crawford in the #1 pound-for-pound conversation, man. Not conversation, he is that. You had to take that from him in order for that to change, in my opinion, at this point, because that type of performance. Although, yeah, people are going to say now, they're going to say Canelo's over the hill. They're going to try to take everything away from Canelo. Canelo looked great in that fight. He didn't look out of shape. He didn't look slower. He just looked like himself. But when you look at the athleticism difference, I think that definitely matters. And when you look at Crawford's ability to carry his strength up, I mean, I think his wrestling background is the reason he was still able to hurt or gain his respect from Canelo. And if he would have pressed the issue, I think he could have really got Canelo out of there. I really do believe he could have got him out of there. I think the reason he didn't is because, one, he has some little bit of respect for Canelo. You can see he kind of didn't want to disrespect him. He had respect for him. But two, Canelo was throwing bombs. He just was throwing single shots. So why get clipped with a single shot when you already winning the fight? Pot shot him, throw combinations, keep him off balance, and just, you know, take it to the belt, especially if you already feel you're winning. But just elevate it to a point where each round in the championship rounds is won emphatically, and I think he did that. But he didn't press Canelo trying to hurt him, because at times, I even seen him stun Canelo, and people might look and say, oh, you're only stunned if you like dizzy, right? No. He'll hit Canelo with a combination, and he'll freeze like a amateur would. You know what I'm saying? Like when you first start getting hit and you're not used to getting hit, you kind of like either close your eyes, you squint your eyes, or you freeze when you get hit, because you got to check to see, did that hurt, or, you know, you're checking yourself. Canelo would get hit with a combination and stand right there and just freeze for a second, show his frustration, and then get back to fighting. He did that on numerous occasions. So, you know, to me, he was able to hurt Canelo. I just think Canelo was hiding the pain very well. Them joints strong, ain't they?